Alrighty, episode 16. So today, we are gonna move away from the, this Highlands area that we've been working on for the last few episodes, and we are gonna move on over here. I've hinted the last couple of episodes that I had a plan, and today we are gonna begin working on that plan. So, remember a little bit ago when we did all the way over here, this little kind of, East Asian sort of area, and the idea was that we were going to have kind of a cultural exchange program going on between our zoo and somewhere else. So today we are going to bring that back in full. So we've had that little introductory area, and we've had a couple of animals through the zoo that have been like East Asian in some way. Like we've had the clouded leopards over there. We've had our Asian small clawed otter. We've had some cranes. And we've sort of been setting that aside for a little while now, especially when we're doing up through here where like I want to go full North America. But now we've got this last little bit through here. It's our last carved bit of the map, and it's sort of an awkward piece. It looks like the border should go right here, but I believe for terrain reasons it can't. So all of this through here, we're going to have to edit very carefully. So I'll just have to keep that in mind. But yeah, so we are going to bring back that East Asian influence in spades. So first thing we are going to do is add in some rice terraces and a couple of more traditional housing up here. We'll do like a tea house up here, and then we will do rice terraces all down through here. And then next to the tea house, we are going to have a little enclosure for, I haven't decided if we're going to do Formosans or sun bears, but either way we're going to get a bear in here. And then the rice paddies that we're going to do are going to be a habitat for the East Asian water buffalo. Or sorry, not the East Asian water buffalo, the wild water buffalo. I'm not even sure that there is an East Asian water buffalo. I'd like to look that up. Let's pull him up real quick. There we go. So this is what he looks like. He was added back in the Wetlands Animal Pack DLC. And he lives through this whole region through here. India, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, Thailand, and Cambodia. They've definitely got some population fracturing going on there. So that's unfortunate, but they live in groups of 3 to 30, and they are naturally aquatic, as mentioned before, and their interspecies enrichment, we have Indian rhinos and Malayan tapirs. We might get in tapirs. I am not committed to the Indian rhinoceros. They're big, and there's really nothing like them that is analogous. The wild water buffalo is kind of akin to like a bison. They're not remotely the same species, but bioform-wise, you can definitely get that impression. So, yeah, and they look like a couple of other species, but I really want to draw a comparison between these guys and our American buffalo that we're going to have over here. And then, the other one that we were going to do, I'm thinking about having the specific country that we've got an exchange with being either China or Taiwan. They're sort of all through here. Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Myanmar, Laos, India, that whole region, for the sun bear. And they are the strangest looking bear I think I've ever seen. Their claws are insane, and they're like gangly. It's interesting. Oh, I forgot to pause. There we go. And then the other one that I was thinking about doing is Formosan. Formosan black bear. Here we go. And these are much more traditional, like, bears. So the advantage of using these guys is that they are fairly similar to the American black bears. They might be a bit bigger. Let's see here, 1.6 meters. 135 kilograms. Yeah, they're bigger than our black bears here in America, but they're distinctively a black bear. So they might be pretty cool to do. And then, of course, their natural habitat, they are unique to Taiwan. So I'm thinking about the cultural exchange country that we have going on here being Taiwan specifically, and then this will be like their flagship, only found here animal. So I need to do a little bit more research before I commit to which country we're going to say the exchange is from. But that's kind of the idea. 50-50 on whether or not we're going to do peacocks. There's nothing really analogous to them in the United States, but I do have to mention they have been heavily imported, and there is actually a massive group of wild peacocks living in Florida, because of course it's Florida. Yeah, when I lived out in Florida, my neighborhood had like 7 or 8 peacocks, and they screamed like babies, and they would admire themselves in the mirror. Like, they're weird little animals. They're just strange. So anyway, that's kind of the plan. I don't know how far into this project we're going to get today, but we are going to try our best. So let's go ahead and get into the time lapse, and I will see you when we're done. So, we are going to be done with the time lapse. I know it doesn't feel like we should be done, but we've done quite a bit today for this episode. It's, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not necessarily happy with this. I think all of the bones are there, but I think that there's a lot that's still lacking. The good news is that, at least for this section of the map, we've got a very clear, like, this is the angle that we're going to view it from above. The bad news is that when you go down to explore mode, this is kind of a maze of, like, pathing that doesn't have any sort of, I don't know, it feels weird. Feels like you're just sort of on the road to nowhere. And then on top of that, I'm not entirely sure that we're going to stay with this parquet path. It's a little bit orange And I know that, like, it might look pretty good in a tropical area, but we are definitely not there yet, and this map isn't really built with, like, the tropical setup in mind. It's a little bit more like a mixture between temperate and taiga, so I don't know. It'll definitely be interesting for how we're gonna move forward. I did build this whole area up here, which I do need to hide the water and the power a little bit better. My goal was really just to get the rock work down, and then we worked a whole bunch on these terraces, which was a whole thing. So in order to make these work correctly, I'll show a little bit of reference up on my screen. There's in every single one of the images that I looked at, the water edge comes right up to a stone border, basically, or some kind of otherwise hard border. So I didn't want to leave this as like a mud border that we then just sort of fill in with our terracing stuff. I wanted it to be these hard edge sort of things, so we get that real terraced look. Unfortunately, what that meant is that we had to rely on glass barriers, and getting the glass barriers to match up with the edge of the water is a little bit finicky, and for whatever reason this episode, it just gave me a really hard time. But thankfully we were able to get there in the end. If you're curious about how to do this, and my fiddling around with it was not actually very helpful, and I don't blame you. Rudy Rankamal has a video about advanced waterfall tutorials, I want to say. I'll pin it somewhere in the video. And I strongly recommend watching that. He's got a lot of great tips. He also struggles with getting the border down correctly, but a lot less than I do, and he's a little bit more concise about what's going on there. And then there's some very helpful commentaries as well. So, that's basically what we did over here. I'll need to fix a little bit of that edging right there. This is going to be the entrance. I don't know how we're going to hook this up yet. And then, of course, we're going to put the water buffalo and maybe one or two other animals in here. Like I said, I was thinking about maybe adding peacocks. The nice thing about peacocks is they're really easy to contain. They really want like a 1 meter little containment area. And if they escape, nobody cares. So it's not a big deal. Over here, though, is where we need to be a little bit more careful. This is going to be our Formosan black bear. I did decide to settle on the Formosan bear rather than trying to negotiate with the sun bear. I think that the sun bear is a very unique creature. I would love to build for it sometime in the future, but I don't think that that day is going to be today. So, and then on top of that, because we're going up the hill again, we still get really spectacular views of the zoo. I love the amount of elevation that this map just naturally brings to the table. I know I've been saying it the whole series, but it's one of the things that drew me to this map in particular when I started recording. So I think it looks really gorgeous, and then of course you can see down into the woodlands area. And it'll be a little bit more difficult, I think. I might put like a little scene here with some tents and like a camping area just to like have something to look at. And then over here will be, you know, our wolves and reindeer that you'll be able to see. I doubt you'll get a very good view of the sheep no matter where you go on this edge. Like, you can see them over there. You might be able to see the animals over here. That'll just really depend on, you know, how things go with the tree planting and all that. And then, of course, you get the full view of the tropical area, which I think is very nice. So, anyway, focusing on what we actually did this episode. This does not look good through here yet. And I am debating how I'm going to do this, because when I looked up the references for a Taiwanese tea house, again, there will be pictures on screen right about now. The siding that they use for those tea houses, I'm going to have to build that completely custom. There is nothing in the game even remotely like it. I've often thought to myself that I almost wish that the Southeast Asian pack had been a build pack rather than a purely animal pack. Unfortunately, that's not what we got, so I'm gonna have to do this custom. What I may end up doing... See, I don't know. I mean, on one hand, I want to record it because I think that you guys would find it really interesting. On the other hand, I almost don't want to record it because I'm a little bit afraid that it's gonna take me some iteration. Like, a lot of iteration. So maybe I'll build a couple of tests off screen, rip out those pieces, and then put them into a pack, and then I'll show you how I built them up. And then after that, we'll build the actual tea house. That might be the compromise that we do there. this is going to be just a nice little dining area. We're actually going to be putting a... Oh, I don't have the... Yeah, I don't have a door yet for this. But we're going to be using this as a restaurant. Rather than trying to do little setups. Because we don't actually have, like, a tea stall, I don't think. Let me double check. Facilities... Guest facilities, drinks. Yeah, no. We've got smoothies, juice, milkshakes, water, slush, coffee, energy, soda. Yeah, but we don't have any tea, which is a real shame. So, yeah, this will be a completely custom restaurant, tea house, and then this will be the sitting area. And we are going to have it be pathed, so that way we can come over and look at this. So, I did decide that this area up through here was a little bit too empty for my liking, and I wanted to do something a little bit unique with it. I know I've said, like, I've gone on record in the past saying that I don't like monkeys. However, that's, it's not entirely true. I'm not a huge fan of capuchin monkeys, and I have no love in my heart for chimpanzees, like, none whatsoever. But I will make an exception for orangutans. I really love orangutans, and I think that it would be really cool if we used this area up here, since we're already dealing with Southeast Asia, to go ahead and put orangutans and siamangs. Is there any sort of link back to North America? I mean, not really. There's nothing like the orangutan except the orangutan. Like, they're very unique creatures. Like, if we have to link it back to North America, I would argue that The Jungle Book was probably one of the best-selling, you know, Disney movies that introduced us to a lot of different jungle animals. You know, it was basically that and Lion King that introduced most of us to the natural world as kids. So, I mean, if we have to have a link back, then I would argue that. This whole brachiation thing, I am really hoping it's gonna work. I can see right here that I already made an error on this thing. This piece right here. So, that's really unfortunate. I'm gonna have to lift all of that up. I'll do that off screen. They have pre-built ones that you probably saw in the footage. I was messing around with to see if I could get any of them to work. And none of them really did. Like, the medium one probably would have been the coolest, but I would have needed to have, like, take it apart and reassemble it somewhere on the ground, and at that point I might as well have just, like, you know, just build my own that actually fits in the area. So that is what it is. And then, of course, the thing that I'm not in love with, but I'm not really sure how we're going to get away with doing anything else. You see that I've got this big glass wall back here. Well, the reason why is because we're on the edge of the map. And animals absolutely can escape off the edge of the map. And the last thing that I want is to find an orangutan out here and then not be able to get to him, and then the zookeeper having to run all the way up here and find a good spot and march all the way over there, and then for things to glitch out. And I cannot. So I would rather be a little bit too overzealous with my usage of glass than I would be to try and find an orangutan up there, you know? Like, no thank you. So, this, I mean, we could change it to chain mesh. That might be a little bit less tacky, horrendous. I don't know what the word is here. But this right down here, this is going to stay. I'm rather happy with this. So, the whole idea is that orangutans and siamangs are climbers. Orangutans can't use this brachiation set yet. We're waiting for the update because orangutans are natural brachiators. So that will be coming. I think the only reason why they didn't get that in the update was because they had to do extra work for it. And then, of course, you know, they want to sell DLC, and so they start with a small batch of animals that can have this new mechanic, and then they open it up wider, which is what they did when the diving update came as well. They had, you know, all the animals in the aquatic pack be able to swim, and then as new patches went by, they opened it up to more and more animals as they finished the rigging. So I expect that the orangutans and maybe a couple of other monkeys will be in that group as well. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple of expansion packs we get even more brachiating monkeys. So, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, and then we did this whole little staff area. I remembered that, oh, by the way, you know, if this was already locked down, then trying to get down the side of the hill over here, I mean, you're basically either having to do this path, or you're having to do this path. And no matter what, we really just need a staff setup over here. And because of the way that the mountain was set up, the only way to really do that was to carve into the mountain. So I think I maybe went a little bit overboard with the amount of rock work. But on the other hand, if we bring it into the rest of this area up here, it might look a little bit more natural. You know, if we don't go with this Cliffs of Dover style, we go with something a little bit more like jungly. So that'll be work for next episode. And then, yeah, we're going to build our tea house. We're going to eventually get around to fixing this up. I really want to focus on this tea house first, because it really sets, you know, everything else ready. You know, it sets up for everything else. And then I think I'll do like a couple more little, I don't know, we might do like a couple of little like sitting areas or huts or something like that, just to like give this, you know, a little bit more feeling to it. Maybe we'll put like a little farmhouse up here. I don't know. It really depends on what we have the space for and what's going to look good, because this isn't a very big ledge. Our scale is really kind of rugged. And then of course we got to fix these paths. So I know for me it's a little bit unsatisfying to leave off here, but I think that we've done a lot of good work. The plan is in place, even though the plan is going to, you know, probably change in the next couple of episodes. So I hope that you all enjoyed today's episode. Yeah, hope you're looking forward to what we do in the future, and I will see you next time.